Hi, I'm Candice Brown and I own the Green Man in Eversholts. Today I'm going to be making a stunning, tasty, delicious apple, pecan and caramel galette. I am using puff pastry though for this one, and I'm using the dome so it cooks quick and it is super, super delicious. First thing I need to do is prep my mixture. This is really, really fast, so I'm using Bramley apples, and the reason for that is I love the tartness of apples. You do want that crunch, we don't want mush, so Bramley apples for me work really, really nicely. I've peeled my apple and we're now just going to quarter it, take the core out and work quite fast. The thing with Bramley apples is they do tend to brown quite quick. If you don't have apples or you're not a fan of an apple, this works really lovely with pear. So you just want to slice these nice and thin. Seagull is clearly very impressed with my chopping skills. Bramley apples, they're bloody massive, so you can probably get away with just using one. And like I said, they do tend to brown quite quickly, so you can stop that by using a little bit of lemon juice. But in this case, I'm using rum because rum, like cheese, makes everything better. So all I've done here is I've toasted off some pecans using the dome. So I put them in a dry frying pan, watched them like a hawk and brought them out, and then I've just blitzed them down. So I've made my own ground pecans. And I find this works almost quite nicely. It's a little bit of a barrier, a little bit of a liquid sucker-upper. Very technical there, Candice, very technical. And then in goes my cinnamon, because apples and cinnamon is just the best flavour in the world. I'm just gonna get my hands in and I'm just gonna mix that through. It just smells great. Obviously you don't have to use rum. Amaretto works well as well. That really is the main bulk of my galette. It's that simple and that quick. I'm also massively cheating because I'm using shop bought puff pastry. Otherwise you're gonna need to have started this last night. You flour your worktop really well here. And you want a 30 centimetre by 30 centimetre square. Ever so slightly, flatten it even more. It's such a quick cook that if you've got thick pastry, it's not going to cook. However, I quite like a soggy bottom. So it's ever so thin, you've got your flour underneath, and that is the base, all right? Now, if I was at home and on my own, I'd literally dump these apples into the middle, sort of flatten them out, and then go with that. However, for you, I'm gonna make a nice little circle. You don't want them to be too thick, because like I said, it is a quick cook. An appley rose. So you wanna make sure at the edges you've got probably 1.5 inches, because that's the bit we're gonna kind of fold over. For texture, I've got some chopped pecans here. Now, the sexy bit. I mean, yeah, buddy. You just want to drizzle this all over the top. So this is instead of putting sugar in, really. We've got caramel. But to make sure it's not too thick in places, just literally nip the corners off. I use this to test that my dome is up to heat. So I make sure there's plenty of flour on the bottom. Between about 225, 275 works brilliantly. Smaller and thinner on a higher heat would be fine, but because we've got a little bit of thickness to this, we want to make sure that the heat's not too high, because otherwise your outsides are going to catch. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to fold my corners over. It looks really, really lovely and crimped. You want to fold that up and over the edge, so you're almost encasing that in. Perfect circle. Now, because we want a really lovely golden crust, I've got my egg here, and you just want to brush around the edge. Try not to let it kind of all drip down. We do want to keep the bottom dry. And finish it off with a little bit of demerara sugar. So we've got placement peel, turning peel, have them both ready. You look proper professional when you do it as well. So I find what helps this as well is if I flour the front. So you want to shunt it on. So I want to place it sort of a little bit further away from the flame towards the front. Shake it off. Now keep an eye on. When I've done this before, this cooks in about 8 minutes. Cooks beautifully, but as I said, you are going to need to turn it. Just the smell of that and that caramelised char, almost like pizza-esque. If I lift up underneath, no soggy bottoms here. Just gonna have to cut it and dig in. Okay, I'm going in. I mean, it's hot, but it's tart, it's sweet, it's stuck all over my teeth. And that is my apple, pecan and caramel puff pastry galette. And for the recipe and all the details, go to gozney.com.
Caramel bubbles is part of the stripper name, isn't it?
Caramel bubbles.
That's my drag name.